All right, hello, welcome. Just take a moment here while everyone joins. Welcome, we'll be starting in just a moment. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start today with a prayer in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Our Mother of Divine Grace, pray for us. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today for our overview of learning support and teacher services. This is going to be a Q&A as well. So I'm going to give a short little presentation and then we'll open it up for any questions that you have specifically about our learning support and teacher services. I'm actually joined here with the learning support team. So we have our principal, Michaela Berquist, and then Lucy Lyons and Cecilia Bockrath. So thank you guys for being here. And welcome to everyone. My name is Paul Grimes. I'm the Director of Admissions here at Mother of Divine Grace School. And you can always reach out to me if you have any further questions after the orientation. If you'd like to join us for the general orientation, we do have those available next week if you're interested. Okay. So first, I wanted just to talk a little bit about what we offer here at Mother of Divine Grace School. So our mission is to help families provide a truly Catholic classical education in your own home. We are a homeschooling program, so each family is going to be guided in implementing the curriculum in a personalized way that still meets our rigorous standards. We are also a fully accredited school. We're accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, which is a national accrediting agency. So we really view ourselves as partnering with you, the parent, in providing a quality education at home. So how does this work? So basic overview is each enrolled family participates in what we call the teacher review program. Families are assigned an educational consultant who's going to work with you throughout the year to help you to implement the classical curriculum in your home. All of our consultants themselves are experienced homeschool moms who've used our program. And so they're able really to help you navigate all of the ins and outs of homeschooling and homeschooling in our program specifically. So then by completing the syllabi and lesson plans that we provide, attending your consultations and submitting quarterly work samples, your students are able to get credit for the work that they complete. And this all happens just within our basic program. So it is an accredited program. You're able to get credit for the work that you do. And then additionally to that, we supplement that structure with 3 additional programs. We have the Learning Support Program, the Teacher Services Program, and the Special Services Program. So today I'm going to focus more on the Learning Support and the Teacher Services programs. So first up, what are these programs? So Learning Support is you might, if you've heard about our online classes, that's usually what they're referring to is learning support. So in this program, students register on a per course basis for the learning support classes. In these classes, they'll be working with a section of other students to discuss the topics or to go over any of the concepts for the course. It's directed and all the work is graded by one of our teachers. So that online peer-to-peer discussion is led by one of our MODG teachers. The teacher provides grading for all major papers and tests, and that's in addition to those quarterly samples that we're looking at in the basic program. These programs, depending on the course, will either be weekly or bi-weekly in those classes. So we really view this as a supplement to what you're doing at home. So students are able to meet and have those discussions with other in their peer group, being led by one of the teachers. And then they're able to do the work at home with you during the other days that they don't have class. Classes that typically have a bi-weekly meeting are going to be the classes in the mathematics areas where that extra follow-up and extra time to go over difficult areas or concepts can be really useful. This program is primarily available for students in grades 6 through 12. So that's really where, you have more access to courses in different subject areas. But we also do offer enrichment classes for students in grades K through 5. Typically, it's going to be in areas like story hour, fine arts, or beginning Latin. So things that can really be a fun opportunity for the students, but are still pretty light and generally just there for enrichment. In these earlier grade levels, sometimes the grading is optional, or sometimes there's just automated grading, or sometimes in like something like story hour, there's not really going to be anything to grade there. Okay. So this is contrasted by our teacher services program, with the main difference being here that instead of meeting in a classroom setting on Zoom, students are going to work one-on-one with a teacher, either on Zoom or on the telephone. So one of the benefits here, again, the teacher is going to be grading all major papers and tests for the course, but the student's able to either go more in depth with the teacher on, if they're having a particular, working on a particular paper or working on particular concepts, they have that one-on-one time with the teacher. So in this program, the students meet with the teacher either once a month, twice a month, or weekly. And we do also offer a new version that is called grading only, where they don't have those phone meetings with the teacher, but they just are submitting work for the teacher to review. So that's right there. That will, it's only for select courses, but that'll all be available in the course catalog while you're browsing. Okay, so again, the main difference here is the teacher and student are just working one-on-one to go over any of those papers and assignments. And during those phone calls, they're able to discuss upcoming assignments and anything that the student would like to go over with them. This can also be used together with learning support. So you could have your student attending the learning support class, but then receive grading support from the teacher just one-on-one. So there's a number of different ways that you can use these programs and a number of ways that they work together. So we really recommend too that you work with your educational consultant to talk about the different options that are available. I will mention here as well that oftentimes families will use these in a variety of different ways. So sometimes they're really looking for some additional time for their student with other students where they can have that sort of social aspect, and learning support is a great option for that. Or sometimes that accountability to someone outside of the home can be really helpful for them as they become more independent and are looking for that third-party feedback, as it were. So some families will use a number of learning support and teacher services. Some families will only use a few. And our program is fully usable if you don't sign up for any of the additional services. These really are here to supplement what you're doing at home and to make sure you have the support you need. Okay. I did want to mention a program that kind of goes alongside of these, which is what we call homeroom support. So in homeroom support, the teacher isn't working with the student for grading or concept review. Rather, what they're doing is they're there to help the student with any executive functioning skills and just staying organized throughout the year. So they're there to check in with the student, go over all the upcoming week assignments, set goals for the week, and help them plan how to achieve them. So they're going to be focusing on those organizational habits for accountability, Again, they're not grading any of the student's work, but they're helping the student develop and follow a schedule to meet deadlines. So this can, again, be a very helpful place if you have a student who's needs some accountability to someone outside the home, or you could use that additional organizational help. Homeroom is a great option. We do generally recommend that if you're taking homeroom, that you're also using a number of learning support and teacher services courses as well, so that the homeroom teacher can help monitor those courses in particular. There's a lot more information on this on our public site as well, if you want to read through that as well. Okay. And there's a little bit about our teachers. All of our teachers are trained in our unique classical methodology. And they stay up to date via ongoing training. Our teachers are subject area specialists who really know our materials. And they also bring a diverse experience, either classroom experience or tutoring, or even just prior work within our program. Many of our teachers homeschool their own children through our program, for example. So they're very familiar with how we work and also our subject area specialists. So it's really a nice combination for our program. Okay, so I do want to touch on just some frequently asked questions, and then we'll open it up to any questions that you have. So first off, what is included with enrollment? So when you enroll in the school, what you're provided is one planning consultation with your consultant for planning courses. That's going to include everything from your student taking entrance assessments, reviewing those with your consultant, and planning courses with her for the fall. You'll then have 3 additional consultations each year to monitor and review progress as you're going along. So those consultations are with you and the consultant, and she's there to help you if you need to modify courses or make adjustments. She's there to help advise you through that. Then at the end of the year, she'll also help you plan courses for the following year as well in those consultations. You also get access to our online syllabi and resources. There's just really so many different resources available for our courses. So you really can get access to anything you get in one of the paper syllabi in an online form. There's a number of other resources there that if you have questions, we can go into that. And then also, of course, the assessment of quarterly work samples, and then a complimentary copy of the parent manual if you request it through the bookstore. And then there's a number of discounts on books and syllabi in the bookstore if you're interested in purchasing physical copies of the syllabi, but also just for enrolled families, all the texts have some sort of discount there. So I did want to just review some of the additional costs, just so you have a sense of what the structure is. So the overview here is base enrollment, you're looking at tuition, which is going to be on a per family basis. There's also a registration fee, which is waived if you pay tuition in full. And then you'll also have to pay for the books and materials separately. That's not included in the cost of tuition. You do have a number of options. Many of the literature texts that we use are available from a number of sources or can be you can be bought secondhand. So there's always ways that you can sort of limit your budget on books and materials if need be. There's also a number of books that are reused year after year or that don't get exhausted. Like we don't tend to use very many textbooks that are sort of the student writes in them and fills them out. So a lot of the materials can be reused as well. Additional costs that you would be looking at would be for learning support and teacher services. This is going to be on a per course basis. You can see our pricing breakdown on the public site for a further breakdown of those fees. And if you're interested in looking at that, we can pull it up in the Q&A. And then in our special services program, which is really for any students working 2 grade levels outside of their chronological grade level, you can sign up for special services and there's a minimal additional fee there. I think it's $35 for 6 through 12. And then any additional consultations that you have there, you just would pay on a per consultation basis. Okay, so that's just kind of the overview of the costs. We really do try to keep things affordable for families by having that tuition on a per family basis. So you pay one tuition based on the highest grade level that you're enrolling in. Okay. I just wanted to offer some of the available support that we have. So we have payment plans, as mentioned. These are available for tuition, learning support, and teacher services. And you can have them on a number of different, you can do it on quarterly or monthly basis. And we also offer a financial aid program. It is a needs-based program, but you can contact financial aid at modg.org for more information to see if you're eligible. And we also offer some discounted used books as well in our bookstore. So these are some of the ways that we can help you sort of offset some of those costs. Okay, another really common question is, what are some of the student life opportunities? So here's just a list of some of the things that really stand out at the beginning. Learning support is a really popular option. I remember when I was a student, I met many, many friends, many of whom I'm still friends with today in the learning support classes. So that's a really wonderful opportunity for students to meet other like-minded young students in the school. We also offer a student forum. We have a chapter of the National Honor Society. And then we also have what we call our list of enrolled families, where you can network with other families in your area. If you're phoning in from Ireland, we do have over 50 families currently using MODG in Ireland. So there's quite a robust community there if you're in Ireland. Okay. So when to enroll. So we are currently accepting enrollments. You can apply online at modg.org/enroll. We process enrollments and accept families on a first come, first served basis. We typically have plenty of room throughout the year and throughout the summer, so there's no real, don't be alarmed if we might run out of space. But it is on a first come, first served basis. Registration for learning support and teacher services typically opens in the first week of June. This year, that's going to be June 3rd. So we do recommend, if you're interested in signing up for those services, that you make sure to enroll in the program as soon as possible, with giving at least 2 to 3 weeks time in order for you to complete the entrance assessments and meet with your consultant to do that course planning. We have plenty of availability in all of our classes, so you don't have to necessarily be able to register on June 3rd, but that is when it opens. And if you're interested in that, the earlier the better, I would say. But again, there's plenty of space in all the offerings that we have. And then here's just a quick little review of what happens after you enroll. So if you do have any students in high school, we do look at those prior records that you might have for them, so we can evaluate those for credit. And then you have your students in 1st through 12th, they'll take those entrance assessments. These are just an in-house assessment that we have, really just to give us a current work sample in sort of the major areas like writing and reading and math and science in some areas. So this really is just to give us a benchmark so that when you have your planning consultation, you can review that and discuss with her what are going to be the best course offerings and course options for your students. There is a lot of flexibility in what courses your student takes. So the example I always go to is if your student took Algebra 1 last year and they're looking to do geometry and they did perfectly fine in Algebra 1, then you're able to move on to that next subject area. You don't have to repeat it. Similarly, if they just studied US history and you want to go on to ancient history, we don't require that you repeat those. We do have just a minimum requirement of at least 2 of our courses, one of which needs to be either religion, history, or English. I can go into that in more detail if there's questions there. Anyway, once you've had that planning consultation, then you can sign up for the supplemental programs, learning support, and teacher services. We recommend this order just so that you're really making sure to put your students in the courses that are going to be most appropriate for them, that they're going to be most successful at. And you can also discuss various different ways that in levels you might be looking at for support. So oftentimes there are subjects where there's a specific reason why you would use teacher services for that subject, and your consultant can review that with you. Then you're ready to order materials for the fall and get started. So that's really just kind of a quick overview of those first steps. Of course, if you have any questions there, I'm happy to take those as well. Okay, so we do have, you'll notice in the little menu bar, we do have a Q&A pod there where you're able to submit questions. We'll go ahead and open things up to any of your questions that you might have. And like I mentioned, we have our learning support and teacher services team here as well to answer any specifically oriented to LS and TS questions. So yeah, so go ahead and you can post your questions in the Q&A pod, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Hey, thank you for your question there about switching classes. So that does come up sometimes during the year where a student will be in a course and realize that, maybe the pacing is a challenge for the student. Sometimes the class is too easy, sometimes the class is too hard. And so as a parent, if you see that happening with your child, the first thing you'd want to do is actually reach out to the teacher and just let the teacher know what you're noticing. Depending on the situation, it might be something that can be addressed within the course itself. So we do have extra lab sessions with our teachers, for example, where students can get additional support. So perhaps the student is struggling with very specific concepts, and some review sessions will get them back up to speed in the class. So we'd want to look into the specific reasons why the student might be struggling in the course. But we do certainly have the option to say, this course isn't working for whatever reason, and you want to switch the student over to another course. Typically, our fees are set to be per semester. So depending on when in the semester, we might work with you to make plans to switch the student to a different course at the semester. So in terms of being able to just kind of make sure we're supporting your students, in the course of studies that you picked out, but also, kind of being respectful of the rest of the section. So hopefully that helps with that.
Yeah, it's a really great question. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Alejandra, yeah. So sitting with your kids with 4th through 6th grade, certainly we really recommend and expect parents to be involved with their students. The type of involvement is going to vary based on the course and the student, and even the class. So sometimes the classes are going to be something where you can get your students set up, on the computer in the class, make sure the tech is working for them, often like especially 4th graders, younger ones. And then you can kind of step back and let them just participate in the class. Parents are always welcome to sit with their students though, so you would never be barred from that. We would ask that you're quiet and not interrupt the class. You can certainly ask questions of the teacher afterwards or through chat or email. But absolutely, parents are always welcome. In terms of just if you're kind of thinking about it in terms of needing to be present, if your student is pretty independent and you're able to, kind of just monitor work kind of alongside, that's also fine. The teachers will send out emails after class. They often have Padlet pages, which allow parents to be aware of the new homework. And that's where we really need parent supervision, because we're not there with the child physically. So we do need the parents to make sure that the students are doing whatever homework is happening for the class and turning in work. But you can also monitor that. So as a parent, you'll be able to see what your child has turned in, what kind of teacher feedback they've received. And so again, that's really inviting you to participate if you have questions about teacher feedback or looking at really the partnership. Again, it's kind of going back to the earlier question, if your student is struggling with a concept, the teacher is going to be giving the student some directions in terms of, let's review this concept. And they might want you as the parent to, kind of help facilitate that. Make sure Johnny looked at this chapter, or make sure he reviewed this chart. And even just encouraging, as a parent, encouraging your child to bring their questions. Sometimes students will be shy and, afraid to speak up in class with a question. And so encouraging them either to ask it or even to email the teacher in advance so that it can get asked, even if the student doesn't want to speak up kind of formally in the class.
Yeah, thanks so much, Michaela. Yeah, one of the things really that's lovely about the learning support and teacher services, it really does give you a lot more resources at your fingertips for helping your students and supporting your students. We understand, especially some larger families, not able to be sitting present with their students at every moment. And so these programs are a great way that you can have some additional coverage and still participate and be involved. We take that very to heart when we say that we're partnering with you. So we really want to make sure that you're having the support you need in order to teach your children. Yeah, it's a good question.
For 12th graders, yeah. So we have, when it comes to summer classes in our learning support program, most of our summer classes are going to be enrichment. So we have book clubs and geography classes. We often have a lot of workshops that are ordered to getting the student ready in the fall. So writing workshops to help improve writing skills. We have Latin workshops to strengthen Latin skills, again, kind of getting the student maybe up to speed for a particular text or set of concepts. We do have 2 for credit courses for 12th graders, then that actually be for any grade or any high school grade, and that's our natural science course and a health course. And the health course is very popular for 12th grade students because that's typically taken in 12th grade, and it can be a great way for 12th graders to get 1 credit out of the way, so they can focus on college applications and test scores through the school year. We do. I did want to just mention too, we offer both of those, the natural science and the health, during the school year as well. So we offer them in the summer because they're 1 semester courses, half credit. But we also have in-year options as well for students who want to take those in the traditional school year.
Yeah, so a question about students that special kids, special students that have any learning disabilities or trouble focusing. What kind of help do you provide them? How can we support them? Yes, that's a great question. So we do have a supplemental program that we call our special services program, where it gives you more flexibility in meeting the particular course goals. So if your student needs, for example, example I give, if there's a timed essay and your child needs more time, I don't even think you need special services for that. You can modify that so that they can have that accommodation. So special services is a way to get some tracking on the different accommodations they need. But one of the really unique features of our program is every single student is really getting a custom program that's tailored to their individual needs. So the benefit of homeschooling is, if your student does need to be able to take more frequent breaks than they would get in a traditional school setting, you're totally able to implement that in your home. We also offer some additional consultations if you really need to have, a detailed plan made for the year for how we can modify our curriculum to meet your child's needs. We do offer those. Those would take place between you and your consultant and one of our special services advisors. So they would meet with you to put together either to put together a plan or just to talk about ways that you can help a student who may have autism or ADHD or any number of learning disabilities so that they can get that support that they need. Our advisor for special services program, Sue Solorzano, one of her things that she says most often is that students who struggle really succeed in our program. So I'd say our program is really very helpful because when you're working with your consultant, you really are able to provide that context. Like, look, I know my child and I know their needs, and these are their needs. And your consultant's able to work with you to modify our curriculum to meet those needs. Our consultants are not specialists in any particular learning disorder, but they are specialists in our program and how we can modify it to meet your students' needs. So, yeah, yeah, definitely. Our program is just by nature is really well suited for students who struggle or who need some extra space there. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. And I did want to add with the question about special services that we do have 2 additional ways to support students within the learning support and the teacher services program. We have a special services learning support cohort for high school students where we have a program that's been crafted specifically for students who might need a more modified, gentler pace and extra support. And so the students work together in a group. They have all their academic classes together. So they have a small group of peers they're working closely with so that they have the support of working with students who are coming from a similar background and similar educational needs. And then they have a writing coach that works with them for one-on-one meetings. So they have a really lovely mix of group classes and one-on-one support that's really tailored. And so then within kind of a structure of it's our same classical Catholic courses, but they have been adjusted to really meet the most standard accommodations that we tend to make for students with special needs. And it's really been a successful program. We've had a lot of students go through it and really thrived. And students have graduated from high school whose parents thought that was not really an option for them. So it's been really beautiful to see those students thrive and grow. And then again, because it's a real range with special needs, we also have the option for students who think they're up for the challenge of the standard courses where they can actually add the teacher services support to the learning support class support, or within teacher services, they can add on additional meetings. And so we have ways for students to get that kind of really focused writing coach or one-on-one attention, even alongside a group class. So just those are options to keep in mind when you're thinking about a student who might have some mild accommodations that need to be made. Just that idea of somebody walking both with you, the parent, as Paul was describing, but also walking with your student kind of very directly with the academic courses. And that's something that can be adjusted at each level. So it might be that you're just wanting to add extra support in a specific subject like math, or it might be that you're looking for that writing coach support across a whole range of subjects.
Yes, thank you, Michaela. That's very helpful. The next question we have, families first year and they're not sure whether they should sign up for learning support for all core classes or just one like Latin. Do we have recommendations? It's a lot of ways we could go with this one, I think, partially depending on grade level. But yeah, what are your thoughts there, Michaela?
Yeah, so Tracy, I think just as Paul said, grade level is going to matter. Your students' comfort with the computer is going to matter. Obviously, depending on the student, they might be used to a lot of time online, in which case signing up for 5 or 6, academic classes online, especially for a high schooler, might be very manageable. And, you can work with your consultant and look at the schedule to kind of map it out. So there's not too many online classes in a given day, so that there's a balance of time on the computer and time off the computer. But if your child is new to taking class online, you may want to think about kind of starting more gently with, like you said, just one like Latin. A lot of parents will pick a target area, a place where maybe as a parent they're not as comfortable teaching it. So if Latin was unfamiliar, the idea of having a kind of a go-to person that you can ask questions for. And I would really think about just kind of whether or not the computer time is going to feel like an intrusion in your day when you want it just to be a support, or whether that extra support of having other adult academic voices around, to help bolster education with your children can be helpful. So it's going to be really very much a by family and by need decision. One thing kind of related to that is that you can, obviously with learning support courses, because they do follow a set structure, I would recommend adding, the things you are interested in the summer, but you can come back and add more support during the year. And we do have students who will add more courses at the semester. So you don't have to feel like you need to commit to everything up front. You can get started and get a feel for things. And, if you think, yeah, this was a good fit, let's get another class or two, you can reach out and, we can see what would be a good place to jump in. And we do allow students, if we have openings in the sections, to add a class, even after the school year has started. We do ask that they go back and listen to the recordings for many classes they missed, just so they're kind of up to speed with their classmates.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to add there too is a part of the enrollment process when you have your student complete those entrance assessments and then you'll do the consultation. And during that consultation is a great time to ask your consultant, just going through what Michaela was describing, if there's areas that you're you feel that you could confidently handle on your own, that you would like to really, you know, to be the primary teacher for that course, but you're kind of wondering, what kind of support you might have. Latin is a great example. I remember my mom was really excited to learn Latin, but also was like, can I get some support that I can be able to go to someone with questions? So that's a really great example there. But your consultant is a really valuable person that you can talk to, really use as a sounding board for determining what's going to be best, as you're coming into the program. Okay.
Yes, the question about teacher services and earth science is a great one. And there's really one of the beauties of our teacher support program is that adaptability. So one of the things we invite as part of the enrollment process when you're signing up for classes as a parent is to share your goals and your expectations. And that's important because kind of a little bit in the previous answer, every family and student has somewhat unique needs. And so it's great if as a parent, you're able to share with the teacher at the start of the year, we're really looking for help with writing, or we're really looking for help with organization, or we're looking for help with deadlines. Kind of sharing those primary goals will help focus the teacher's attention with your student on those specific goals. And of course, you can adapt them over the year. The teacher might say, it looks like your child has really met this goal. They're not really struggling with deadlines. Do you want us to shift to a new goal? But in the case of the earth science essays, there's a lot. It's it's one of our most popular teacher services courses, historically and definitely in the present. And sometimes it's because mom wants help with the grading, just having someone else looking at those essays and providing writing support, and just kind of that additional reinforcement. So it's not just the parents asking and directing, but again, kind of the outside voice providing support. But yeah, the teachers can help by modeling. So sometimes when students are struggling to get started on writing, the teacher might say, hey, here's a good opening question, an opening sentence or something, or a student might struggle with, I don't know how to organize the paper. And so then the teacher might use their Zoom meeting time to say, let's put together an outline together, right? And so the teacher and the student could work on an outline together. And then when the student's done with the meeting, they can go off and try to write that essay by themselves. And then certainly if when an essay's been turned in, as a master learning program, we really care about having students having the opportunity to revise and improve their work. So sometimes when a paper is turned in, the teacher will say, we're going to make this a draft. This won't be your final copy. And here are some things that I'd like you to do. And a common one with earth science is that we have these worksheets the students complete, and then they convert those into essays. And a student might, in converting their worksheet to an essay, include 7 of the 10 facts from the worksheet. And so the teacher might say, okay, you're missing 3 facts, and here are their numbers. Go back to the worksheet and let's find a place to put those in the essay. And that's a great example of where, the student is kind of directed to improve their work, right? They still get a lot of ownership. They're taking the fact that was missing and adding it in. And then it's only that second one that will be graded, not the first version. But it's a great way to really support the students in their writing. And that's one of the most popular reasons for signing up in teacher support for our writing-based courses. So our history courses, our religion courses, and our earth science are really popular for that.
Yeah, I do have to say, when I was a student so many years ago, I really valued the support of my earth science teacher. I think we only met once a month, but having someone that could, really sort of walk me through what's coming up that next month, like, okay, the next few essays are going to be more difficult, but focus on these particular parts and you should be fine. That kind of thing. Just having that voice I could talk to and really just get that guidance was really valuable.
Yeah, another place too where teacher support and learning support can be helpful, especially for parents who might be new to homeschooling, is that sense of what's typical for an age. We've got a big range from 6th to 12th grade, and if you're not familiar with what does a typical 6th grader or 9th grader or 12th grader produce, it's great to have that teacher's kind of voice and feedback, because they can be reassuring. It might look to you like this paper is a little rough or not quite what I'm expecting, because maybe as a parent, you're actually expecting college or beyond level writing. And so the teacher can really help with saying, actually, this is very typical for a 9th grader, but not that doesn't mean we're not challenging them, right? So one of our key themes is that we meet the student where he's at. And so in those early assignments, the teacher will be looking at the student's writing, or in a non-writing course, looking at the work they've produced to get kind of a baseline, like, okay, this is typical for this student. And then what they'll do is they'll help prioritize. So to say, there are some areas of weakness that we want to develop. And instead of trying to target a whole bunch of problems at the same time, the teacher will help pick out and say, okay, our immediate focus here is going to be working on topic sentences. So this next assignment, you're going to make sure we've got clear topic sentences. And the teacher might model some for the student, give the student a challenge. You write the topic sentence for the next two, and then work with a student on that skill. And then when that one's mastered, okay, now we're going to move on to really improving your conclusion. So it is, I think, a real benefit of having someone who's looked at hundreds or even thousands of these essays before they've seen your students to say, yeah, this is good, and here's where we can go from this to help the student improve and be a stronger student.
Right, and that, that's something too that we really we use a principle called mastery learning here. So we are a mastery learning program. We really want to make sure that students are mastering the skills before they move on. So things like doing rough drafts on papers or retaking tests where they maybe didn't get the best grade at, and going back and reviewing those concepts and then retaking is a really core part of how our program works. And it really does allow for the program really to be tailored to your students' individual needs, because some students will fly by this one section of algebra 2, for example, and then when they hit quadratic equations they need to take that extra time, but some students it's the opposite experience. So you're really able to use mastery learning there to really make sure that you're focusing on where your student is right now. It's one of the real benefits over a traditional classroom setting where the teachers, they only have so much time for each student because, they have 20 students in the class. And so teacher services and even just the grading that's in learning support is a great option for getting that real individualized attention. Question. Okay, again, if you have any questions, you can post those there in the Q&A pod, and we're happy to get to them. We'll be available for a few more minutes if there's any other questions. Okay, I think this is all the questions that we have. So I did want to just leave you with this. If you do have any additional questions that you think of after the or the Q&A, do feel free to give us a call and speak with one of our enrollment counselors. We're always happy to hear from you and discuss any questions that you might have. You can also just submit questions online if you want to just email us, or you can send me an email directly at admissions@modg.org if you'd like to schedule a time to speak with me. But thank you all so much for joining us today. And a big thanks to our learning support team here. I think it was really helpful to see hear your perspective on these programs. So thank you all so much for attending. There will be a recording available, and once that's available, it'll be sent out to you. So if you wanted to review any of that material that we've covered today, you'll have that recording. Alrighty. Well, thank you all so much for joining, and you have a wonderful weekend, and God bless you all. All right. Hope to work with you soon. All right. All right. Thanks for coming. God bless. Bye.